What's going on, football fans? Welcome back to another video here on CFL Central. We got some very exciting breaking news if you are a Miami Dolphins fan, because let me tell you, you are in for a treat next season. DeVonte Dedmon, the most outstanding special teams player in the CFL last season, one of the best punt and kick returners that I've seen in a long time, has just signed with the Miami Dolphins and is expected to become their #1 option on special teams. And you guys are going to have a treat back there next year for you guys, because the special teams was one of your weakest areas, and we'll talk about that from the Dolphins standpoint. But Carter, how are you feeling about this, the CFL losing another one of its biggest up-and-coming stars?
Well, you know what? With the CFL, even with them losing guys like this is important for a few things. Number one, I think it's important for the CFL to lose guys to the NFL because, I mean, every time like media comes out and the NFL is hearing of players coming from the CFL, you know, they're hearing that the CFL exists. It's a thing. It actually does exist. It's up there, and it's one of those things where it's more exposure down south for the CFL with this happening. And I think it definitely puts a good repertoire on the CFL, when, especially with these other, you know, we're going to be getting some more competing leagues with the USFL and the XFL coming back and all that. So showing that the CFL can be that stepping stone into the National Football League, I feel like is going to be really appealing for maybe some guys who are coming out of college or whatever and are looking for that next step. So I think the CFL, even losing talent like this, can, you know, help them increase their viewer base and, you know, increase some of their talent as well, because it's going to look like an appealing option.
For sure. And, you know, and getting to the standpoint of what Dedmon's going to bring to this Dolphins team, when you look about the Dolphins last year, one of their most consistent performance issues was on special teams. They didn't really have a solid guy back there. You look at it, and Jakeem Grant was the main guy that Miami had for most of last season, but he actually was traded to Chicago in October, which left the punt and kick returns duty mostly on safety Javon Holland, and he was basically kind of average. You got really nothing crazy out of him. He averaged for the punt return 6.6 yards this season and 17.4 yards on the kick return, so nothing really good there, just kind of the average you're going to get from a speedy kind of wideout thrown into that role. So yeah, definitely an issue for the Dolphins. And then you come over and you bring in Dedmon, the most consistent and deadliest special teams player in the CFL. When you look at his stats, they speak for themselves. Even when you look at his regular receiving stats, the guy almost averaged a first down being thrown to only like 12 times or whatever the entire season, so that speaks enough for his consistency.
And now you're giving him another down to work with.
Exactly.
And that's with 3 downs.
Exactly. So you have all this like really good stats. And let's talk about his stats. You know, we're talking about Miami. You need to see what you're getting from this guy, right? You go to his receiving last year in 11 games played, 11 receiving yards. He had 13 recorded catches, on 13 attempts, 103 yards on 11 catches, and like I said, 9.4 yard average is really good on the receiving side. Yep. You go over to his punt returns, and that's where it's very, very special. On 48 punt returns this year, he had 737 yards for an average carry of 15.4, and you go and look at last year on their punts, and they had averages 6.6 from the Dolphins, so you're almost doubling that in your punt returns, and that's on a smaller field as well, so who knows how that can translate over. It's going to be very interesting to see how his how that translates from CFL to NFL for him. And then you look at his kickoff returns. He had 39 kickoff returns received with over 1,223 yards with an average carry of 25 on the kick return. So
that is averaging really over 100 yards per game. And I think one of the things that me and Jake discussed very shortly before doing this that is going to be important is, I mean, you're talking about a guy that in the CFL, because there's no fair catch rule, and he's used to running the ball. You're not getting a guy who's just sitting back and he's taking the knee, and he occasionally goes for the run, but you're not practicing the run as much because it's not happening. You're having a guy that for the past 2 years, the league and the teams that he's played on, he's being used to running the ball every time. So I think giving teams that option in the NFL is really important, because you're going to play against teams who are just going to give up yards by taking the knee and jumping to the 25. If you can consistently get past the 25 with returns, that's going to be big. You know, each game getting that few extra yards more than your opponent can really make the big difference.
For sure. And obviously we don't know exactly how his game is going to translate over, if it even will at all, to the NFL, because let's be real, sometimes in the modern day CFL, you know, it's not like in the olden days where you had players all-stars in the CFL being all-stars in the NFL. Sometimes it doesn't translate that well. So we're going to have to wait and see. But based off of his stats, stats and based off of his performances and how he got better against tougher matchups, the consistency he had. And let's also just remind Dolphins fans that the Redblacks last year were one of the worst teams in the entire CFL. Now that's only a 9-team league, don't get me wrong, but the fact that he was still the best special teams player in the entire league and won the award in his second year, I think that speaks volumes about the character and the work ethic that you're getting from this kid. He's only 26 years old, so you don't really exactly can't rule out him not being around for a while. You've got a young up-and-coming core with the Dolphins. I think this is going to really blend well, and I think that he might even find some chemistry with Tua. This could be a really good mix for them. There's a lot of potential with it, and like I've said, when you're taking in a league minimum basically contract for the NFL side of things, giving this guy a shot, I think it's really going to work out well for the Dolphins. You know, I'm really excited to see how this is going to work out. The Dolphins are kind of an interesting team in my opinion, and I think this just makes them even more exciting going into the next season.
Yeah, there's no downside for Miami here as far as I can see, because you have a guy who either he's going to turn into nothing and you go back to status quo, or he's going to really turn into a solid piece that you're going to want to keep on the line, keep in the lineup and keep on your special teams to improve that, to really get up to par with the rest of the league with that.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it any better myself, Carter. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? If you're a fan of the CFL, if you're a Redblacks fan, you know, how do you feel about seeing probably the best shining star of your team leaving? You know, the Redblacks are kind of in this weird bubble. They had a couple successful Grey Cup runs. You know, now who knows what they're going to be looking like. A lot of questions at quarterback. Let us know your thoughts if you're a Redblacks fan. Let us know if your thoughts on if you're a Miami fan. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about your newest player coming over from the CFL down south. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're new to this channel, a fan of the NFL, a fan of the CFL, or a fan of football, regardless of whatever league it is, definitely consider dropping a subscription for you can learn more about the beautiful league we have up here in Canada in the CFL, as well as covering all of the news from free agent signings, weekly matchups, betting odds, and everything like that as we continue to get closer and closer to the start of that season. I'm Jake. Carter is always with me here on the show. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.